For those of you who may have to leave early, we got multiple copies of the speech we're going to share. We want you to keep copies of it. It's available online, like Brother Markel was telling us. But if you could get the CD of it, share it with some people, because we have to hear our conditions are long in bad shape right now. Me and Brother Kojo and Sister Terry's been out there with us too. We've been doing some things. Malcolm would appreciate sharing what else is going on. Markel just talk about what's going on too. We've been out for the last 8 months demonstrating against this ignorant music that's been pushed to our children on the radio. And this is an example of one of the flyers that we just made. Now, unfortunately, the young people can't, hopefully won't be able to read this, but our young children are listening to this every day. This is what's on the radio for them every day. It's sponsored by McDonald's, so we've been at McDonald's demonstrating against them buying commercials on these radio stations that push this poison on our children. This is what it is. I get the real lyrics from the children. This is what it is. And so we were out there again this morning. We're going out every Saturday morning. We've been out all during the winter. This is the type of stuff that's being played on the radio for our children back to back to back to back to back, constantly. Totally disrespectful, unacceptable. And I just don't see how we got to the point where this happened. It's just ridiculous. So it's called Clear the Airways Project. If you get a chance to check it out online. Honoring our people, we've been having a quest. I was hoping that Samuel will be here. He's been working with us to try to get this street named after Malcolm X. Virginia and Georgia Street. We've been trying for like 13 years to get a street in a city that's 90%, 85–90% African, a street named after Malcolm X. And we haven't been able to do it. We haven't honored Michael, who's a whole different story, but still. He's from Gary, and he's the world's greatest entertainer, arguably. Richard Hatcher, the first mayor of a major U.S. city in this racist society, and he's still with us and not being honored. And so, Markel, just let us know what you're doing, work you're doing with that real quick, and then before we had a couple more things we'll talk about before we get to the speech. Yeah.
Well, basically, I've been just trying to get more involved, because I look at it like y'all done did everything. Y'all done laid the foundation for us. Our uncles, our moms, and dads done laid that foundation for us. And it's time for us to stand up and start doing the things we should be doing around the city. We can't keep blaming the city for everything that's wrong. So I always looked at Richard Gordon Hatcher as, a person that should have been respected in his own city. And it seemed like the parks that was named after him, they just let him go. So when they was talking about adopt a park, that was one of the first parks. I said, well, I'm going to adopt the park, the Hatcher Pavilion. So I adopted that park, and today was the first phase of cleanup. We went over there today, and we had like 30, 40 people that came out. We got all the debris up, and got it looking real nice. We're going to go back, cut the grass, and we just basically going to fix that park up. I got a couple of signs that's going to get made for next week to actually have a picture of him on there saying that, Hatcher Pavilion, the first black mayor in a major city, And I think that's where a lot of us lose, because we don't cherish the history that we have in this city. And it's like a lot of us don't know. There's people out there now, they didn't even know that he was the first black mayor. And I think that's something we should have been taught in school, and it's like we don't do that. And then as soon as a person dies, that's when they say, oh, start doing this, So I figured we still got an icon in the city that's living here, that's been here ever since he was mayor. And I think we should do something besides, just let the park go. So I just took it up on myself to say, that's the park I'm gonna fix up, and that's what we're doing. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. People support Brother Markel and efforts to recognize our people who've done good work. We have to be grateful for the work that our people have done. Another thing is on Monday, 5:30 at the Kennedy Library, we're getting together. We're saying end the sweeps, end the coon hunt, end the slave raids. We're tired of police from LaPorte. One of my students up there, they saw police from LaPorte out here. LaPorte, wherever they're from, they're not from the city of Gary. They don't know us. They're coming here arresting our people, harassing our people. About 1 in 3 people I've talked to in the city of Gary said they've been stopped by these police who don't live in Gary. It's not right. So we're going to have a forum on Monday at 5:30 to deal with this. Do we want all this crime in our community? Of course not. Do we think having the police come and take away our daddies is the solution to this? Of course not. So we're going to deal with that on Monday. We know that Malcolm will be dealing with a lot of these sort of things too. Anybody else got anything about anything else coming up that they want to mention before we turn the table on? Let's see you all.
I've been announcement. Hi everybody. May 10th, 2014. It's okay?
No, I'm just thinking why I didn't mention that. Go ahead, you got it.
Right, that's okay. May 10th, 2014, Concerned Citizens Against Violence will be having our 7th annual Mother's Day Stop the Violence March in Young. It'll be in Broadway, at 42nd and Broadway at Christ Temple Church. So I'm hoping everybody can participate. It will be inspirational gospel CDs for all the mothers. Mark your calendar. Thank you.
Coach Joe, our comrade, he definitely puts in some good work and always does that, looking out, trying to stop all this violence in our community. La Fontaine, they've been putting together some natural food for the community, and we know health is another issue that we face. You know, we look at the work Brother Malcolm did, Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live. We got health is so very important. And these sisters, mother and daughter, have been putting out this good food recently. And so they said, come on and share some of that food with the people. So, because when we start the tape, we're not going to stop. So anything you guys want to say real quick about what will be ready in a second and what you guys are doing in the community too?
Well, most of what we had was not cooked, because when you cook foods, that destroys the enzymes in the food. And enzymes are what give life to the food and also life to us. So we have a drink made from mint, lemongrass, and pineapple. It's very refreshing. And I know it's Mormon here, so as soon as the,
And I teach chess here at the library every Saturday from 12 to 4. Or you can call me at 359-8843, and I'll do it wherever you want to do it at. But chess is very important to the community because they can make the right move. And we got to keep our city clean. We got to support our chief of police. And we got to put people that's doing right. And I'm a sponsor. I'm going to help you too, brother. So I just want to say thank you.
Appreciate you, Brother Michael. August 2013 was 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, Dr. King's most famous speech, the I Have a Dream, so-called I Have a Dream speech. Hundreds of thousands of people were there. Malcolm, one of his famous speeches, done 50 years later, we got a good crowd here. So again, it's available for everybody to listen. Not as many people, of course, as that on the Washington lawn, but it ain't gonna get like that because what this brother was saying. But we need to hear it. We're gonna discuss it afterwards. And I forgot that the most important thing of all, other than asking the elders, can we speak, was to call forth the ancestors of libations beforehand. So everybody, we have to do this. We're gonna call forth our ancestors. We need you all, when I call on you, to mention the ancestors, say the ones that we did not say, and your own ancestors, those who are no longer here, who have done great work. Okay? We need them to be with us here in spirit. As African people, we understand that even though the physical has limitations, the spirit is all around us. And we have some people who have done some great things, so we want to call out their names. We want to call out the name of Yah Santawa. And we want to say Ashe, which means I'm in agreement pretty much, if I call it a name that you're in agreement with. Yah Santawa. Harriet Tubman. Betty Shabbat. Malcolm's sister, Ella.
Bill Key.
Ashe.
Ida B. Wells.
Ashe. 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 Chokwe Lumumba. Ashe. Amari Baraka. Ashe. Dr. King. Ashe. Megan Evans. Ashe. Ashe.
Robert T. Washington.
Ashe.
Jay Turner.
Ashe.
Rami Ture.
Ashe. Ashe. Another truth. Ella Baker.
Rosa Parks. Ida B. Wells.
Let's call out those in our family who know have done good work. In our families who are no longer here.
Charles Taylor.
Ashe.
Carlos Patterson.
All them out. Let's say their names.
Andy Davis.
Timothy Pratt. Mother Granger. Okay, Montgomery.
Johnny Jones.
Ashe. All those.
Carlos Patterson.
Ashe. For all those who we have not said but still have done good work for us to say. Ashe.
Ashe.
All right, y'all. Here we go. I didn't say Brother Ron Muhammad, but I got to give it up to him. He's on the radio. Ron used to play this a lot. This is one of his favorite speeches, too, about Brother Muhammad. So.
Brothers and sisters, friends, I see some enemies. In fact, I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we had an audience this large and didn't realize that there were some enemies present. This afternoon, we want to talk about the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet explains itself. But before we get into it, since this is the year of the ballot or the bullet, I would like to clarify some things that refer to me personally concerning my own personal position. I'm still a Muslim. That is, my religion is still Islam. Religion is still Islam. I still credit Mr. Muhammad for what I know and what I am. He's the one who opened my eyes. At present, I'm the minister of the newly founded Muslim Mosque Incorporated, which has its offices in the Teresa Hotel right in the heart of Harlem. That's the Black Belt in New York City. And when we realize that Adam Clayton Powell is a Christian minister, he has Abyssinia Baptist Church, but at the same time he's more famous for his political struggling. And Dr. King is a Christian minister from Atlanta, Georgia, or in Atlanta, Georgia, but he's become more famous for being involved in the civil rights struggle. The same as they are Christian ministers, I'm a Muslim minister. And I don't believe in fighting today in any one front, but on all fronts. In fact, I'm a black nationalist freedom fighter. Islam is my religion, but I believe my religion is my personal business. Governs my personal life, my personal morals, and my religious philosophy is personal between me and the God in whom I believe, just as the religious philosophy of these others is between them and the God in whom they believe. And this is best this way. Were we to come out here discussing religion, we'd have too many differences from the outside, and we could never get together. So today, though Islam is my religious philosophy, my political, economic, and social philosophy is black nationalism. You and I, as I say, if we bring up religion, we'll have differences, we'll have arguments, we'll never be able to get together, but if we keep our religion at home, keep our religion in the closet, keep our religion between ourselves and our God, but when we come out here, we have a fight that's common to all of us against the enemy who is common to all of us. The political philosophy of black nationalism only means that the black man should control the politics and the politicians in his own community. The time when white people can come in our community, and get us to vote for them so that they can be our political leaders and tell us what to do and what not to do is long gone. By the same token, the time when that same white man, knowing that your eyes are too far open, can send another Negro into the community, get you and me to support him so he can use him to lead us astray, those days are long gone. The political philosophy of black nationalism only means that if you and I are going to live in a black community, and that's where we're going to live, because as soon as you move into one of their, as soon as you move out of the black community into their community, it's mixed for a period of time, but they're gone, and you're right there all by yourself. We must understand the politics of our community. And we must know what politics is supposed to produce. We must know what part politics play in our lives. And until we become politically mature, we will always be misled, led astray, or deceived or maneuvered into supporting someone politically who doesn't have the good of our community at heart. So the political philosophy of black nationalism only means that we will have to carry on a program, a political program of re-education, to open our people's eyes, make us become more politically conscious, politically mature. And then we will, whenever we get ready to cast our ballot, that ballot will be cast for a man of the community who has the good of the community at heart. The economic philosophy of black nationalism only means that we should own and operate and control the economy of our community. You would never, you can't open up a black store in a white community. White man won't even patronize you. And he's not wrong. He got sense enough to look out for himself. And you don't have sense enough to look out for yourself. The white man is too intelligent to let someone else come and gain control of the economy of his community. But you will let anybody come in and control the economy of your community. Control the housing, control the education, control the jobs, control the businesses under the pretext that you want to integrate. No, you're out of your mind. The economic philosophy of black nationalism only means that we have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled, misguided, are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. And then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing and a run-down community. Why, you're running down yourself when you take it out. And you and I are in a double track, because not only do we lose by taking our money someplace else and spending it, when we try and spend it in our own community, we're trapped because we haven't had sense enough to set up stores and control the businesses of our community. The man who's controlling the stores in our community is a man who doesn't look like we do. He's a man who doesn't even live in the community. So you and I, even when we try and spend our money in the block where we live or the area where we live, we're spending it with a man who, when the sun goes down, takes that basket full of money in another part of the town. So we're trapped, double trapped, triple trapped. Anywhere we go, we find that we're trapped. And every kind of solution that someone comes up with is just another trap. But the political and economic philosophy of black nationalism, the economic philosophy of black nationalism shows our people the importance of setting up these little stores and developing them and expanding them into larger operations. Woolworth didn't start out big like they are today. They started out with a dime store and expanded and expanded and then expanded until today they're all over the country and all over the world, and they're getting some of everybody's money. Now this is what you and I in General Motors, the same way, didn't start out like it is. It started out just a little rat race type operation. And it expanded until today is where it is right now. And you and I have to make a start. And the best place to start is right in the community where we live. So our people not only have to be re-educated to the importance of supporting black business, but the black man himself has to be made aware of the importance of going into business. And once you and I go into business, we own and operate at least the businesses in our community. What we will be doing is developing a situation wherein we will actually be able to create employment for the people in the community. And once you can create some employment in the community where you live, it will eliminate the necessity of you and me having to act ignorantly and disgracefully, boycotting and picketing some cracker someplace else, trying to dig in for a job. Anytime you have to rely upon your enemy for a job, you're in bad shape. He is your enemy. Anything, you wouldn't be in this country if some enemy hadn't kidnapped you and brought you here. On the other hand, some of you think you came here on the Mayflower. Today, this afternoon, it's not our intention to discuss religion. We're going to forget religion. If we bring up religion, we'll be in an argument. And the best way to keep away from arguments and differences, as I said earlier, put your religion at home, in the closet. Keep it between you and your God. Because if it hasn't done anything more for you than it has, you need to forget it anyway. Whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a nationalist, we all have the same problem. They don't hang you because you're a Baptist, they hang you because you're blind. They don't attack me because I'm a Muslim, they attack me because I'm blind. They attack all of us for the same reason. All of us catch hell from the same enemy. We're all in the same bag, in the same boat. We suffer political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation. All of them from the same enemy. The government has failed us. You can't deny that. Anytime you live in the 20th century and you walking around here singing, "We shall overcome," the government has failed us. You do too much singing. Today it's time to stop singing and start swinging. You can't sing up on freedom, but you can swing up on some freedom. Clay can sing, but singing didn't help him to become the heavyweight champion of the world. So this government has failed us. The government itself has failed us. And the white liberals who have been posing as our friends have failed us. And once we see that all all these other sources to which we've turned have failed, we stop turning to them and turn to ourselves. We need a self-help program, a do-it-yourself philosophy, a do-it-right now philosophy. It's already too late philosophy. This is what you and I need to get with. And the only way we're going to solve our problem is with a self-help program. Before we can get a self-help program started, we have to have a self-help philosophy. Black nationalism is a self-help philosophy. What's so good about it, you can stay right in the church where you are and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. You can stay in any kind of civic organization that you belong to and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. You can be an atheist and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. This is a philosophy that eliminates the necessity for division and argument. Because if you're black, you should be thinking black. And if you're black and you're not thinking black at this late date, well, I'm sorry for you. Once you change your philosophy, you change your thought pattern. Once you change your thought pattern, you change your attitude. Once you change your attitude, it changes your behavior pattern. And then you go on into some action. As long as you got a sit-down philosophy, you'll have a sit-down thought pattern. And as long as you think that old sit-down thought, you'll be in some kind of sit-down everywhere. It's not so good to revert to what you're going to do as a sit-in. Then right there, castrate you. Right there, it brings you down. What goes with it? Think of the image of someone sitting. An old woman can sit. An old man can sit. A chump can sit. A coward can sit. Anything can sit. Well, you and I have been sitting long enough, and it's time today for us to start doing some standing and some things to make that up. When we look at other parts of this earth upon which we live, we find that black, brown, red, and yellow people in Africa and Asia are getting their independence. They're not getting it by singing, "We shall overcome." No, they're getting it through nationalism. It is nationalism that brought about the independence of the people in Asia. Every nation in Asia gained its independence through the philosophy of nationalism. Every nation on the African continent that has gotten its independence brought it about through the philosophy of nationalism. And it will take black nationalism to bring about the freedom of 22 million Afro-Americans here in this country where we have suffered colonialism for the past 400 years.
Push for reparations and things like that, so they continued on with the work. And a lot of revolutionaries followed Malcolm. When Malcolm was assassinated in February 21st, 1965, after that, Black Panthers came to be, the RAM, Revolutionary Action Movement, RNA. A lot of these groups, he didn't have any sons, he had all daughters. So even though there were females in these groups, they would consider themselves like the sons of Malcolm. So they continue this legacy, and this legacy needs to continue because as we all heard, especially the part about black nationalism and the part about what's happening in our communities, when we don't control any of the businesses in our communities, it's just crazy right now. It's just, I see young Conda Don here, Brother Damon, he got this beautiful song out about the gas stations. And it's just so, and I was listening to brother listen to that song on the way back from Chicago today. Loved it. He said everywhere, everybody can relate to that. We don't even control the gas stations in our community. They're up in here, they're just controlling all of it. So we have to, one thing we want to talk about before we, the few minutes we have left, is where we go from here 50 years later from Ballot and Bullet. With control of my resources. The political thing is still important. And now we have black folks in power kind of like doing the same thing that the white folks are doing to us. But in terms of the controlling the business of the community, some open discussion on that for the few minutes that we have left. There's some open discussion, some comments, and things about what we can do in terms of that. So anybody want to chime in? Or just, you got to speak loud, got these fans on because like AC in here.
Okay, well, yeah, like the brother's song, like I always hit on 88.7 out here. I really like the song. It's a real true song. Got a nice beat, nice lyrics, and the lyrics is true because you can go in any neighborhood in any city in America, and like Brother Carl say, gas gas stations not controlled by our people. The only businesses we normally control or own is barbershops and barbecue joints, and you can't sustain the economy. Even the size of Gary owns barbecue joints and you know, beauty slash barbershops. So, I mean, the song makes sense. It's relevant to not just Gary, but Chicago, Detroit, Birmingham, everywhere. So, I mean, I just want to say big up for the song because the song, it speaks the truth. It speaks volumes on what's going on in our community.
And I, you know, had a case where friends of mine, pets got arrested, got picked up. And I know a lot of our people, and I'm the chief is here, but we can't even arrest them. Much problems that we get involved in, as much cutting and disrespect that we do to each other, as much as we have to go to jail, unfortunately, in this community, we can't even house our own people in jail. My dog got arrested, had to go to Munster. My dog. We can't even, come on, y'all, so we got a lot of work to do, but how do we start? What do we do to start to making some of these changes? We're doing a little bit of it right now. Okay? Unity.
I heard a quote that I read a quote where he said, Black communities spend more on drug and alcohol than they can run a nation. So part of it is change what you put your money in.
You gotta be loud.
Samson had some kind of color to him. I saw the movie. It was a lie because Delilah lived to be at his funeral, but in reality, she died in Paris in the rubble with the Philistines because the evil she did against the Holy Ghost.
So what you're saying, Eclipse, is basically we got to get more spiritual and unify, right?
Not just that, we have to unify.
Okay.
And then once we conquer the enemy together as a whole, we'll be like how that way how something used, we can come as a race of people, and then we can bring business like the airports and all the other business entities. We have to have that unity. The churches have to have that unity. We can't keep having religion better than another church.
Okay, let's get somebody else a chance to chime in. Thank you, brother. Brother E, Eddie, sorry, I can't call you E.
It's okay. That's our thing. Hey, I studied at Ballot a few years now. And I think it's important that we study not just that information, but the Woody Lynch letter, all the things that have been strategized against us, get on YouTube and study a lot of the different agendas that has been moved against us through the years is now becoming exposed. That's how we know how to plan. You can't assume that you know when you haven't done the research. First thing, that I felt was important is when I first came back to Gary, I went to the Gary room and studied Gary's history. The reason why I did that is because I wanted to know what I was up against as it relates to me being involved. And I joined other organizations and got involved with other things that are happening to see if we can move forward with at least one step. And one key thing that we like to do is we don't really listen to what he just said. What he just said was that there was Negroes and there was different individuals that were in our way. They took over. That's the fact. They are in control right now. Things that have happened currently are, there's a battle going on. And there's profits to be made from poverty. And individuals are profiting from that. And so if we really are serious about fighting, about creating an alternative for our future, then not only do we have to unite, we got to be focused. We can't get off, it's a lot of fights to fight. But we can't get too, we can't chase everything. What he just said on there is where we should be. In terms of simply understanding, like, I believe in creating alternatives. From the alternative political party to the alternative union. These things are only created because in the past, this is how they use institutions. They don't use individuals. They create institutions and people get on board with institutions. And these institutions become our enemies. The people just simply are opportunists. They just fell in and say, hey, look, I want to feed my family. A guy came to my office and told me, well, man, I can't be seen out in front of your office because I might lose my job. These are the kind of things we up against. It's not that he didn't care. He's afraid. And the fear is what's controlling us. And until we wake up and realize, and those who are not afraid, let's get focused. There's a lot of issues, but we have to become more conscious of what's happened. Our children are under attack. He said something about the young people during his time. Those were our parents. That simply tells us what happened between 1960s and 2014. Where are we and what happened and what's really going on? That's how we got to analyze it. If we don't do that, we're in trouble.
Okay. More observations? Anybody with some thoughts?
Yeah, this morning I attended a breakfast at the Genesis Center, and the pastor got up and said something. He said, if my people are called by my name, humble themselves, and do God's will, they will be okay. They'll survive. And that's what we need to look at. We need to be more spiritually and more conscious about our community. Because, you got to protect the kids, because it says that all through the world. All through the Word. Yeah. Not the Word. You got to protect the kids. You got to look after the elders. These are some laws that you got to do. And if you don't do them, then, it's damnation. Yeah, it's bad. So if we don't start doing what is right, then we're gonna have to suffer the consequences. I'm just trying to get on a team that's right, and I'm on Jesus' team. So I'm looking forward to seeing blessings. I'm not gonna be like those that Deuteronomy 28 get cursed and all that. I want to be a blessing.
Well, we got a lot of work to do. We all know that our community right now is suffering. Mass incarceration got us, Malcolm mentioned every time you were born in jail. They just took that and just gone crazy with it. Education system screwed up, like we talked about earlier, like he talked about. We don't control the businesses in our community. We got outside police forces coming into Gary and arresting us and harassing us. We just got a lot of issues. The music, we talked about that earlier, the music that's played for our children tells them to kill each other and tells our daughters to be strippers, drops N-bombs on us, drop B-bombs on our women, constantly. We in some bad shape right now. So, I think the Malcolm's rap was inspirational. We got copies of it over here, so you can just take a copy and share it with your people who haven't heard it. Like Brother Eddie said, take it and study it. But I think we need to, as a group of people, and Brother Brandon, who's over in Chicago, who does a lot of good work with youth, he says when we get together, we need to write down what we do, so we can start coming together and moving on what we do. We got a videographer, we got a conscious rapper, we got an organizer, we got spiritual people, we got young brothers putting in work, sisters providing. And as a matter of fact, let's give it up for La Fontaine and the great natural health and food that we have. forward to big things and having a spot in Gary where we can go get that healthy food for our people. So hopefully that'll be coming up soon. So,
you know, I've always read excerpts of Malcolm, you know, here and there. This is the first time I've ever heard of this speech. Thank you for that.
you're welcome, sister. Thanks for listening. All right. And they're all on YouTube nowadays, and all that, brother, that's a,
Yes, sir. I was just going to chime in with what I've heard everybody say. First of all, I want to give a thank you for the work that you've been doing on the radio station consistently with conscious music and trying to get the word out to our people. I think what you did today is a wonderful start, and I think that everybody should give you a hand for those. But as I looked around the room, I noticed that there's a lot of adults and a lot of us are older adults. And if you look at the youth, the babies, their attention was not on that speech. Their attention was on whether they were hungry or they wanted to move around. So you're never going to have an effective movement if you don't include them or you don't have things that focus on them and centers around them. That's why the Bible says old men for counsel, young men for war. But the youth are asleep. So we have to engage actively in order to wake them up. And I think that if we, the minds of us that have been working, like Brother Eddie, yourself, myself, different ones among us, we can set aside meetings to strategize. And if this facility is available, I was telling Brother Phil on a weekly basis, Brother Phil just brought a brother by the name of Dr. Umar Johnson in that dealt with the psychological warfare that is being perpetuated on young people in the school systems, calling them ADHD, giving them Ritalin, and making basically us think that our children are crazy because they can't control them. It's not that the children are crazy. Their minds are more advanced than what we give them credit for. They can open up computers. They can bust codes on video games. They can tell you everything about the game. But we have disconnected with them. So now we, with our pro-black talk and our military talk, are sitting on an island. They don't relate to us. We old heads. We old school. Nothing about us says that we're prosperous. We don't look the part. We're not attractive to them. They're saying, why should I go through all that if I'm going to turn out to look like you, if I'm going to be like you? So I think that if we got together, we could start as enough people in this room to where we can, before we leave, we have the next plan of action. If it's 2 Saturdays from now, if it's 3 Saturdays from now, we say that if it's nothing but a think tank to come together, write it out, have somebody take the minutes, outline what it is we want to achieve, because a target that you have not identified, you can never hit it. So I think that we have what it takes. We have the young people, the shorties. Everybody should have input, male, female, young, old, and let's write out, if it's 5 things, let it be 5. But we got to get started. We can't wait till another 50 years from now, 10 years from now, and have anniversaries of something that a man said 50 years ago that is worse 50 years later with more politicians in office, more political leaders, more government officials, more black this, black that, and our condition is worse in 2014 than it was in 1964. If we're going to be real about it. Gary looks like a war zone. And we can start right where we are. And we don't have to depend on outside money. I've been an active member of the Nation of Islam that produced a man like Malcolm X with the organizational strategies, the training, and I'm available to offer that to help us all, and I'm willing to learn as well.
Hey, the record just came back and let us know that we're about out of time, too. So if there's any more wrap up that we didn't do, anybody else didn't get a chance to say something, you know, share it now. I do know the response to what you said. You know, some of us are getting together very soon. I know on Monday again, at 5:30 at the Kennedy Library, we're going to deal with these sweeps coming into Gary. And got some lawyers and some attorneys, some people coming in to talk about these police sweeps coming into Gary, this coon hunting, these slave raids that are coming into our community. Yes, something?
Tomorrow, 5 p.m. on 2337 Broadway, we call it the launch of a movement. And we invite everyone to come out because what we're doing is, as I mentioned, institutions control. So what we've done through the years is fine-tune a series of institutions that can be empowered by the people, or controlled by the people, if you would. But of course, the objective would be for everyone who is interested in trying to turn this around and understand strategies based upon what Malcolm has talked about. We call it human development. Malcolm says human rights. We created a whole system around what we call holistic human development, formula H2D. And you gotta have a system that's bigger than a person, it's bigger than a group of people, it's bigger than all those things, a system that goes beyond, or a belief system that goes beyond personality and that sort of thing. So that goes beyond, for children like this one, when he's grown, it'll be there for him. And so that's what we're gonna launch this officially. We've been at it for years, but we're ready to launch it now because we got all our certifications, credentials, all those things in place. Money-making opportunities, we're gonna talk about all of that at 5 p.m. tomorrow at 2337 Broadway. And I wanted to invite all of you out. It's been on Facebook. We announced it on Facebook. We put an invite out there for certain individuals who seem to be interested in the city of Gary from a grassroots standpoint. A lot of people will compromise the city for their own personal gain. So we're trying to find those who are selfless, find those who seem to understand that they want to know beyond of what just one aspect of it, but so many. That's why we call it holistic. So human development, our focus is prioritizing our potential. That's what we want to do, and so tomorrow at 5 p.m. we're going to be what we call the launch of a movement. And it's a team of us that's been working together for years. I met everybody back in 05 through Quabena. He's been out here for some time, so my first outlet, I was in the entertainment business, and my first outlet was with Mr. Quabena. And that's how I got into the community more so, even though I'm from here. So the idea with all of us, whoever you can bring with you that seems to be aware. It's hard to fight when people are in a state of ignorance of what's really up against them. So the more of us that can come together and learn what's really against us, then we'll have a bigger impact. So I invite you all out tomorrow.
Right. That's it. Again, thanking the ancestors for being with us here during our libations, and thanking everyone for showing up and participating. Again, get you a copy of the CD right there, Ballot, and go to share with some people. Sante Sana.